The headlines on RT International: 4 U.S. states are taking legal action against Donald Trump's immigration policy as a poll finds that most Americans agree with the so-called extreme vetting of newcomers. Trump's America is one of the biggest threats to the European Union. That's according to the EU Council President, who adds, quote, "Spectacular steps are now needed to protect the bloc."
Do we trust the people or not?
Britain's Brexit Secretary David Davis challenges MPs to respect the popular vote as they open a key debate on triggering Article 50 on leaving the European Union. Midday in Moscow. Thanks for joining us here on RT International. We have your latest worldwide news headlines. 4 U.S. states have started a legal battle against the Trump administration after the president's executive order putting temporary restrictions on immigration. It comes amid more nationwide demonstrations against the policy. Legislators in California are taking the dissent a step further by trying to turn the entire state into a haven for illegal migrants. They are pushing for a bill that would establish a sanctuary for over 2 million people already living in California without authorization. Now, a rift is also evident inside the State Department. About 900 of its officials have signed a dissent memo protesting what they describe as a ban. The leaked document says that the policy will likely be counterproductive and ultimately goes against American values. However, a new poll by Reuters indicates that Americans remain highly divided over the issue. Nearly 50% of those surveyed say they agree with temporary restrictions, while 41 said no. In the meantime, one of the world's biggest coffee chains is weighing in on the side of the refugees. It's promised to make a point of employing newcomers.
We're developing plans to hire 10,000 refugees over 5 years in the 75 countries around the world where Starbucks does business, and we will start this effort here in the US.
Soon after the announcement, the hashtag boycott Starbucks started trending on Twitter. Now, some suggest the coffee chain would do better to hire veterans who need the work. Others argue that giving jobs to migrants when unemployment is so high is just a bad move. And we got reaction from political satirist Ami Horowitz.
The question is not whether or not it's a good gesture, a bad gesture, economically motivated or socially motivated. The question is it the right move to make? I personally do not think it's the right move to make. I think it encourages the wrong behavior. I think he could be hiring Americans. These are good-paying jobs. They get medical benefits. They get educational benefits. It's a great stepping stone job for people for first jobs. So I think that those jobs should go to Americans first. There's such hysteria going on, and I really do call it hysteria for a reason, on this whole halt for refugees. I think the halt's a good thing. I think it was the right move politically and to make for this country. But there's such hysteria about it that I think what Schultz did was simply a knee-jerk reaction to what's happening, and he simply said, I'm going to hire 10,000 refugees. I think it's a huge mistake. Politically, huge mistake. Economically, it absolutely could backfire, and it doesn't make any sense from a shareholder, building shareholder value perspective.
Trump's entry restrictions are not the first time that foreigners have been limited from entering America. However, it's only now the measures are facing a widespread backlash, as Guyane Chichikan now reports.
U.S. authorities before Trump were hardly blind to nationality or religion. The profiling, though, took different forms. Recently published internal FBI guidelines show that the authorities have for years taken factors like race, religion, and nationality into account in their investigations. Many have argued that the number of refugees that the Obama administration accepted from Iraq, Libya, and Syria was disproportionate to the level of intervention by the U.S. in those countries. And in the relatively small numbers of admitted refugees, some saw a form of hidden profiling.
It shows that the people, and I think a lot of the spin from the media, is okay with whatever a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress does. Under the Obama administration, so much was ignored, whether it be foreign policy, domestic policy, a lot of their spying, a lot of their treatment of the press. So much of that was completely ignored by the public, but now that it's a Republican and the media is on the Democrat side, and the Democrats have a lot more of these like activists in major cities, it's coming more to light, because how dare Donald Trump not even continue the policies, but function under the policies that were established under Democrats.
Back in 2011, President Obama severely restricted the number of refugees from Iraq for 6 months. At the time, the decision provoked little to no outcry.
Actually, I have heard that, and I'm wondering why we also didn't hear more about that. But maybe I'm not as aware now. I think I'm a little bit more aware about what's going on. I think I'm following more news now because I'm really afraid what's going to happen to people, and I'm really afraid what's going to happen to my friends.
And why we'd single out the Iraqis over anybody else didn't make much sense to me at that time either. You know, walk around D.C., there's plenty of Iraqi, Iranians, Muslims, there's everybody here.
Many say Trump's decision was a step too far. The question is whether it's just the scale of the action that should determine public outcry, or whether any act perceived as profiling needs to be opposed. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chakyan, RT.
The EU faces a brand new threat, and that's apparently Donald Trump's America. The warning coming from the European Council's President, Donald Tusk.
Worrying declarations by the new American administration all make our future highly unpredictable. So many are becoming openly anti-European or Eurosceptic at best. Particularly the change in Washington puts the European Union in a difficult situation.
The European Union and the United States had been the best of friends for so long. Step onto the stage Donald Trump as the president, and we're hearing these words from another Donald Tusk, the European Council president, not pulling any punches with what he has to say. And it looks from the European side as if they feel that the biggest threats they're facing are Russia and China in the east, Islamic State and Islamic extremist terrorism in the south, and then the United States in the west, pretty much surrounded, as long as they don't annoy any polar bears. But how did we get to this situation where we've gone from seemingly one end to the other? Well, a lot of it can be seen from just the reaction to a statement on a British TV show by Donald Trump's preferred candidate to be the ambassador to the European Union.
I had in a previous career a diplomatic post where I helped to bring down the Soviet Union. So maybe there's another union that needs a little taming.
It's all jokes there, but you can't really take that as policy. However, if you listen to what the potential future ambassador had to say, he said that he was going to be against multinational organisations, which the EU certainly is. Also, Donald Trump was not a big fan of bureaucracy, which is something that the EU has come in for a lot of criticism for in the past and can't really deny. So with this bust-up between Brussels and Washington, the EU may find that as it breaks up from one set of friends, there aren't any others for it to go to.